Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mo, and today I'll be wrapping up the 20 books that I read in the month of August. So the first book that I read was Act Your Age, Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert. This is the third book in the Brown Sisters series. I rated this one 4.25 stars out of 5. So Eve is like the most erratic and unstable sister out of all three of them, and she's had about 11 odd jobs. She's always messing things up, and she doesn't stick to one thing. She hasn't found her passion in life. While still staying at home and being dependent on her parents decide that it's time to cut her off and allow her to become independent. So I believe it's 6 months or a year that they want her to get a job, and then once she can stay at a job consistently for the 6 months or a year, then she can get her allowance back, because they were giving her a monthly allowance. So then on the other hand, we have Jacob. He is the other main character. He is very persnickety, and he's the owner of this bed and breakfast, and she stumbles upon an interview with him, and they start off really bad, but he's desperate because he's about to enter this contest, and he needs someone to help him. And she's pretty good at cooking, because she's done so many odd jobs. She has the tools and the skills to cook. I think it was bakery, she did pastries. I think she did it all though, because it's a bed and breakfast. Yeah, she cooked and baked. Jacob gets into a predicament all because of Eve, and I won't tell you exactly what happened, but he's not able to take care of the bed and breakfast, so he has to put it all in her hands. And mind you, he hasn't known her except for the really bad interview, so he doesn't really want to trust her, because she also got him in a predicament. She also is the reason why he can't run his own bed and breakfast. They're an unlikely pair, but the more you see them interact, you could see the chemistry. You could see why they're so similar in a way. I would say on paper they don't really make sense, but you just have to see it. You just have to see the vision. They're my favorite couple, I think, besides Danny and what's his name? It starts with a Z. It wasn't Zarif. Oh well, I don't know his name. If you like spice, this is definitely the most spicy one out of the whole entire trilogy. Yeah, it gets very explicit with them too. Also, if you're interested, Jacob is on the autism spectrum, and he kind of leads Eve to find out her own diagnosis of something that she didn't have the verbiage for. So that's interesting if you like that kind of representation. So I will say at the beginning, I didn't really like Eve, because I felt like she came from a way too privileged place. And over time, I got more comfortable with her. She's very quirky, her personality's good. She's very quirky, her personality's good, so I don't know. I feel the more you read it, you'll fall in love with her personality. My family is watching me. I'm doing it in front of the door. Usually I do it on the sides where no one can see me, and they're looking at me. I wonder if they can hear me. I don't want to be talking about sex. Next book that I read was Ace of Spades by Farida, àbíké-íyímídé, and I gave that one 5 stars. The book basically follows Devon, and then the audio narrator was calling the girl Chiamaka. But whenever I looked it up on Google how to pronounce her name, it was Chiamaka. I don't know if it's just different accents, but in this case I would just call her Chiamaka, because that's how the narrator was saying her name. But yeah, it follows Devon and Chiamaka, and they're the only 2 black kids at this PWI, and it's very prestigious, and it's a private school that costs a lot of money. Devon, he doesn't really come from a lot of money, but Chiamaka, she comes from more of a privileged background, and she's more used to the circles and everything. She's one of the most popular girls with a lot of power and clout, and he's just kind of he's not an outcast, I would say, but he doesn't have a lot of friends. He has one friend, and he's in band, and he just sticks to school. He doesn't come to school for friends. He knows that this is a big opportunity. His mom is working really hard to allow him to have this opportunity, so he doesn't play. So the main conflict of the book is that there's someone by the name of Aces that's sending Chiamaka and Devon's deepest and darkest secrets, and sending it through text messages to the whole entire school. If you like Gossip Girl and you like the vibes of Get Out, you'll really like this, because it goes in different parts. Part 1, I think there's 2 parts, or there might be 3, but the first part is just kind of the Gossip Girly section, and then the second part is Get Out. I don't know why, but I was shook when it actually got to the Get Out part, because if you've seen Get Out, that's some crazy shit. Because of the nature of the school, I thought there were gonna be some kind of discrimination, but the white supremacy jumped out, and I was shook. My heart was pacing. I wasn't scared, but I was really anxious, because being the only 2 black kids in a white school can already become a stressful situation, trying to acclimate to, the rest of your students, the rest of your peers and stuff like that. You come from different backgrounds, you're different. They're looking at her hair different, because she usually straightens her hair, and one day she comes to school and her hair is not straight. It was really good. I did not expect it at all. I've been to PWIs for pretty much my whole entire life. A lot of the things that they were going through, I was wow. And there's microaggressions, just things that you don't other people just don't see outright, but it's if you're a person of color, you're a black person, you know how it is, you know what's going on. The next book that I read was Rhythm and Muse by India Hill Brown. I gave this book 5 stars. It was just so cute. Okay, let me get into what's it about. Darren used to be a singer, and something happened that made him swear off singing forever. And his crush Delia is this very popular girl at school. She has a very, I don't want to say popular again, but she's a very popular and famous podcast among her city. Everyone watches her, high school students, college students. She's very well known in her city, and she holds a contest for her next theme song for the podcast, and people are sending in samples and songs and all that, and she's having her audience vote on it. and someone submits an anonymous sample that she loves. It's a song about her, and everyone's vibing with it, everyone loves it. I mean, I guess you can kind of guess who's gonna be the person like that sang it, you know what I mean? But it was just so cute because he was just so nervous to just tell her that he had a crush on her, and like the whole time they were both feeling each other, and it was just so cute. Y'all know it ain't an outside video if I don't tell y'all to please excuse the outside noises, because like I don't know what y'all can hear, what y'all can't. I try to have like the camera pretty close because I don't talk very loud, so hopefully y'all can hear. Oh, this reminded me so much of Disney's Let It Shine with Coco Jones, Tyler James Williams, and Trevor Jackson. And oh my gosh, I loved that movie growing up. Both of them come from like religious church background, and then also there's like this thing about like she thinks someone else submitted the song, but he's just like, that's my song, like what the heck. And like if you watch Let It Shine, like that's kind of like the premise of it. So I don't know if she was like inspired by the movie, but it definitely had those vibes, and I loved it. If you're just looking for like a really cute and wholesome book, it was just so cute. Like I loved it so much. The next book that I read was A Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams, and I gave this one 3 stars. So it follows Nathan and Bree, they're best friends. Something happened between them. Like I think, yeah, she was injured. She wanted to be a professional ballet dancer, and she kind of like distanced herself from him, and they drifted apart. He's an NFL player, so like I don't know how, but somehow they got reconnected and they're close again, but they don't talk about what happened. Like they don't talk about the period of like when they weren't cool or whatever. I was so aggravated because they could have just been honest with each other, because they're very close, insanely close. They could have been together way like years ago, and something had to happen where one of them said it. They're just like, there's also fake dating. But yeah, I think this is considered a rom-com. It was cute. Like sometimes it was funny, sometimes I was just like, oh. And I was talking about like them coming off like a little bit younger. It didn't ruin the reading experience for me, but some people I know that bothers them, because it's kind of hard to get ages right, like the tone of certain age groups in books. So if that's like something that bothers you, there's that. The next book that I read was The Wedding Party by Jasmine Guillory. This is, I believe, the 3rd book. So this book follows Maddie and Theo, and they have a mutual friend that they're really close to that is getting married, and they're both going to be like a part of the wedding party. I believe they've both been like around kind of like 2 or 3 years, and they got off on the wrong foot. He came off kind of like pretentious and just like really judgy. I think she's a fashion designer, and he has like kind of like a more like corporate like cube office job, and she seems to think that he looked down on her, but like because he made like an offhand comment, like it was insulting, and he never cleared it up. So like for 2 years they just kind of been like hating each other. And one night, I don't know how this popped off, but like they ended up at his house, and it started this whole, oh, this was a one night thing, this is a one night thing, and then they just like were addicted to each other, and then like I don't know, they slowly become like falling in love. Like it's just so cute. It's just so cute. Like when people just think it, like, oh, this is so unassuming, like doing all this stuff, like I just don't think that anything's gonna come out of this that's like, you know, substantial, and then it becomes like this beautiful relationship. I kind of got annoyed because it seemed like out of nowhere they just realized that they were attracted to each other. They never tried each other like that before this one night, so I'm like, what really changed? This is a book that I really enjoyed, but because like I don't care that much for the whole entire series, I don't think that I would keep this kind of book. I've had this for a long time. This one and Dating Dr. Dill, which I did read this month, had been like sitting on my shelf for like over a year. I was like, why not? Like, let's just read this, because I need to figure out if I want to keep it or not. Also, this is like a couple that I feel like they should have been together, like kind of like The Cheat Sheet. Like I get kind of annoyed when people just like don't see it, but also like that wouldn't really make a story in a book if they just got together immediately. I mean, there's insta love that don't be hitting the same as like tension and angst and like, oh snap, these are feelings. But once they got over like the weird hump or whatever, I feel like the way they interacted and like cared for and loved on each other was just so beautiful. The next book that I read was The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. I gave this 4.75 stars. This one, I felt like I didn't take enough time to like process and deliberate, because you know sometimes you read a book and you really have like your own opinion, and then you read someone else's review and you're like, I can kind of see what you're saying now that you say that. I didn't see that before, but like now that I'm reading what you're saying, I agree. And it's like, okay, I'm not letting someone else influence my opinion, but like also in a way I am, because I wouldn't have never thought that before, I guess, or I would have come to that conclusion like way later. I like things to be predictable sometimes. I do like trying to figure things out, but when things are predictable, it doesn't take me away from the story. Like I don't feel like it's just like any less than of a story. So I think that's where like my hesitance to rate it like so high is, because I just felt like a lot of this stuff was just, is the word cliche? I don't know, I just feel like it had a basic formula for something like this kind of plot, which, let me just get into what it's about. So this is following Nora. She's a 30-something-year-old woman that is like kind of going through an existential crisis. For content warnings, this does deal with depression and suicide. On the day that Nora decides that she doesn't want to live anymore, she finds herself in this library that's like full of lives that she could have lived. And she goes on this journey of like trying on all these different lives and just basically discovering like what the meaning of life is, and just that like life is just more than what she was initially thinking. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to ruin the reading experience for y'all, because when I read it, I didn't know anything about it. So I think that's what made me enjoy it a lot more, because it was something I never read before. Imagine you can just try on every single life that you could have had, like just one tweak of an action, and you can just see how that would just change your whole entire course of life. Like she had lives where she was famous, where she had lives where she had families, she had lives where she didn't have families, and it was really interesting to see. If I had an opportunity like this, I would like jump at the opportunity. And that's where I think the conversation where I was saying like it could be triggering to some people. Like, I don't know, some people could be tempted, but like obviously this is like not real life. I believe this can be considered magical realism. I'm getting better at learning more like literary terms. I never had to like critically talk about a book before. I usually just like gossip with my friends and my coworkers about books. Really the only last thing that I had to say was like I could see how like the predictability of the book could take the enjoyment out of the book for someone else, but I honestly didn't mind it. It was kind of comforting. Sometimes like when you just know how something is going to end, you know, when you watch like your favorite comfort show, you're like, okay, I already know what's going on. Like I don't need to be anxious. I don't need to, you know, paying my full attention to it. I think that the ending was supposed to be like profound and deep, and it kind of like made it a little bit more lighthearted at the end, but it was definitely dealing with heavy topics. So this follows Drew. She has inherited, her grandma passed away and she gave her bookstore to her. It's called the Book Nook. Drew doesn't even enjoy reading. Like she doesn't care about reading, but she wants to do this because this is her grandma's legacy and they're very close, and she wants to honor her memory and she wants to take care of what was so important to her grandma while she was still alive. And then in comes Jasper. He's like this best-selling romance author, which he writes very well. And all the women that read his books swoon. Like he's a poet. He is determined to show her how beautiful reading is. So he makes like a book bucket list in exchange for her like showing him around the town, because she lives in Denver and he wants his next book to like be placed there. It wasn't instant love, but I feel like their attraction and relationship started pretty fast, but I didn't hate it. I need to know what's going on very fast. Like I like fast-paced, medium-paced books anyway, so like I didn't really care, but I know some people really need something to be like slowed down and, you know, a slow burn, which it's not my favorite trope in the world. And I loved how in the end she found something that she was like very passionate about and loved, and she still could honor her grandma's memory, because she was battling with between like, I believe, her love for photography and then just running the bookstore, which she doesn't really care to do, and she never wanted to sell it. That's all I want to say before I say too much, but I really enjoyed the book. It was very cute. The next book that I read was Dating Dr. Dil by Nisha Sharma, and this is the first book in the series. It's called If Shakespeare Were an Auntie, and I gave it 3.5 stars. Follows Karina and Prem, I believe his name was. In her culture, I believe they're both Indian. There are a lot of couples that have gotten married through arranged marriages, and her parents were a love marriage, which basically that means like they weren't arranged at all. She wants a love marriage, and he is like he's a doctor on a TV show where he talks about like heart, because I think he's a heart surgeon or something like that, maybe. But he talks about the conditions of the heart, and love comes up, and he's just born off of like love. He doesn't really care for love marriages, but he knows he's trying to convince her to marry him because they could both benefit from it. And she's just like, no, like I won't stand for it if I can't be in a marriage full of love. Like that's what I saw. I don't want anything less than what my parents had. And he's just trying to tell her, girl, just get over. Really, I think they only need to get engaged. But her point is that if they get engaged and they call off the engagement or whatever, men in her community, like it's misogynistic culture, and like men will like, it will kind of like degrade her value in some other people's eyes if she got like dismissed or like thrown away. Yeah, I don't think I'm doing that justice, but I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to like not act like I know everything about what's going on in this culture, because I don't. I'm trying to help y'all understand what I read. I really love them together. I gave it 3.5. I thought it was really cute. The pacing was good. Yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to say about this book. I'm really glad that I looked at my reading notes, because should I hold this book up the whole time? I don't usually have like physical books all the time in my wrap up, so I don't really know what the like I don't know what the ethics about. No, I don't know like the etiquette, like, because this is kind of bothering me how it's like that. So let me just put the picture up, child. They were annoying me because they were both just so stubborn and stuck in their ways, and like I was more on her side because she had actual reasons why she shouldn't have to settle for less than anything that she wanted. If the case was that he just needed to be engaged with somebody, he could have just found somebody else. Like you know what I mean? And like I don't know, they were just really trying to push off how much they meant to each other. I just like, it makes for a good story, but it just bothers me so much when people that are obviously meant for each other don't see it. It's one of my biggest irks in a romance book. But like, that's like what's driving the story. So I can't be completely mad, but I can be mad, actually. She said that if they called off the engagement or whatever, if they got engaged, that it would ruin her chances with other men. But like, to be honest, her dating pool wasn't very large to begin with. She was on dating apps, and the dating apps, girl, there's like little excerpts of like text messages and like the dating app that she uses, and those men on there were so disgusting. It was almost disturbingly accurate for how people talk on dating apps, specifically men. It wasn't very promising, that dating pool. So I was just like, girl, this is like really one of your only options. So they were both getting on my nerves. Oh, and I loved how like the aunties were like all like super sleuthing and just like getting into like background checks, and like they knew everything. Like there was nothing you can get behind get past those aunties. Like they mean business. They willing to do a lot to matchmake. and I'm here for it. I would definitely recommend this book, but I wouldn't read it again only because I really didn't like her grandma and her dad, because they were trying to make her responsible for her younger sister. And it's like they were just like, well, her mom, y'all's mom is not here anymore, so like that's like you're supposed to step up as an older sister. But it's like, she's not her mama. She didn't make her. Like, I don't know. I don't like stuff like that. Like, her sister is grown. They're both adults. So it's just like literally they'd be like, oh, you're being selfish, not helping your sister with her wedding because your sister was getting married. And that was giving vibes to this other book I'm gonna read later on in the month. If y'all feel like someone should be guiding her and all that, why aren't y'all helping her? Why are y'all trying to make her sister do everything? She needs to have a life of her own. Y'all are always talking about how she's getting older and she's not married. She don't even have time to get married. She don't have time for nothing outside of her sister. I'm a younger sibling. On my mom's side, I'm the youngest, and then on my dad's side, I'm the second youngest, but I'm the youngest girl. So my prayers are with the older sisters. Y'all are definitely, or older siblings, y'all are definitely the backbone of families. Like, y'all are sometimes the second parent. You guys are like another guardian. So I have a lot of friends that are like the older sibling, and I feel for y'all. Can't relate, but I definitely feel bad for y'all. Okay, I'm just gonna say this. There was a declaration at the end, and I lived for it, and it made up for everything else that I didn't like. So I think you should read it. And the more I think about it and I'm talking to y'all about it, like, I've been talking about this book for a long time now. I feel like I've talked to my phone for like 10 minutes, and maybe I should bump it up to a 4. I really like the book. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. Okay, I'm going to do my best to describe this next book because I love this book so much. It got 5 stars. Don't even worry about it. The next book that I read was The House in the Cerulean Sea. I think I've been saying The House of the Cerulean Sea. So this is following Linus, and he's basically like a social worker. He works to basically figure out, like, okay. So he helps kids that have magic or are magical beings, and he makes sure that the places that they are like fostered. No, they're not fostered. They're like in adoption homes. What's that called? Orphanages. Okay, I'm saying a lot of words I don't say a lot because I've read that word so many times, but it just sounded so weird. It sounded like I said appendage or something. Okay, he goes to orphanages, and he makes sure that the living situations are up to par and that the kids are safe and well cared for. If not, then he'll write it up and they'll get like shut down. He's like very by the rules, and he does his job. He doesn't do anything outside of his job. He doesn't know what happens after places get shut down. That's beyond him. It's not his responsibility. It's not his job description. He goes into this one place, and he's just like, I think the place was called like an island called Marsyas. I listened to the audiobook. Oh, I love the audiobook because I love this book so much. He goes to this place that's different than anything. It's like kind of like a secret top mission because the government agency that he's like employed by is just like no details about this. Also, one of the kids is like the devil. Dad is Lucifer. So like that's all the preparation that he gets. It's like a little tiny case file. And like he's kind of sent in on this mission to like basically get more information on the master of the house, which I don't really like when people be saying master, which is like, I don't know. But yeah, the master of the house. They really want more information about him. I can't remember why, but he's got secrets. I don't think I'm doing this. Oh my god, there's just so much you guys have to know. Let me just read what I have. Okay, so this is basically what I said. It says, Linus Baker is a lonely caseworker for a governmental organization which manages orphan kids who are magical beings. One day, he's given a secret assignment to assess a special orphanage on the island of Marsyas, run by a man named Arthur Parnassus, who has secrets of his own. And yeah... Oh, this is also very queer. Like, this was... I loved every single character. And the thing is, he prides himself on not getting attached to the kids. And just to watch, like, everyone get comfortable with each other and just shed all of their defenses and guards. Like, I don't want to keep saying wholesome. This was so wholesome. Like, it was beautiful. A lot of these kids have really rough upbringings and hard lives. And it's just nice to see, you know, people that actually care about kids. Like, want to work with kids. They're passionate about it. And they want to see them cared for and happy and in a house that, you know, people want them there. I want to say I cried. I can't remember. But I want to say I got emotional. I think everyone should read this book. I loved it so much. I was just hearing like so many good things about TJ Klune, and for this to be like the first book that I read, I'm definitely gonna read more. I'm impressed. I loved it so much. That's all I can say. Like, this would be a 6 star for me. Yeah, easily. The next book that I read was Cemetery Boys. It was Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas. I gave this 4.25 stars. When his traditional Latinx family has problems accepting his true gender, Yadriel becomes determined to prove himself a real brujo. With the help of his cousin and best friend Maritza, he performs the ritual himself and then sets out to find the ghost of his murdered cousin and set it free. This had a little romance. I didn't think it was gonna have romance. It's between Yadriel and somebody else. I was like, oh yeah, get into it. Get into it, yeah. I love that there is representation. Oh, I'm reading this directly from my reading journal. I love that there is representation for queer, trans, Latinx people. Like both, I'm saying people because I put like 3 exclamation points. I'm trying to give y'all the energy, but I don't know. Both the author and audiobook narrator are from these groups, so as I can't speak to how it was done, there are definitely people behind the book that have spoken from their own experience, which is great. I won't discount people that haven't experienced things that they write about because a lot of people do research and, you know, they have like beta writers and all that, and people from those groups. But like it hits different when it's like authentic to the person writing the book. It's kind of like a piece of them. It's their story in a way. So genuine. I appreciate stuff like that. Several times while reading this book, my eyes were welled up with tears and maybe a few fell. I don't know. There's an interview at the end of the audiobook. I did it through Libby, so I don't know if it's like the same through each like audiobook company, like Scribd and Audible and stuff like that. I don't know. But yeah, there was like a little like 10-minute conversation that they had after. Oh, they talked about representation, Dia de Muertos, the writing process, and more. I know like the basics of Dia de los Muertos, but I didn't know that it was like celebrated so differently in different cultures. Also, when I kept reading about marigolds, which I didn't know that marigolds were like a big symbol for the holiday, but it reminded me of Coco. Like literally, I forgot what it's called, but like, you know, the bridge to like get to their family, or how their family travels back on that day to get to them. There's like this like beautiful like paved like area of like these marigolds, these beautiful flowers, and I just kept picturing Coco. If you like Disney and Pixar and you haven't seen Coco, please see Coco, because the first time I seen it, I cried. I love Dante. I love everybody. I love the whole gang. Grandma was getting on my nerves, but hey, wait, no, was it Grandma? Maybe it was the mom. Somebody didn't like music. Maybe it was the grandma. No, it wasn't the grandma, because that was her dad. Okay, sorry if you haven't seen it. Ooh, and it got dark. Like something happened, and it's like, so someone ends up like keep going missing in different scenes. Like, you know, when you notice somebody like just ain't around when everybody else is talking, it's like, okay, where they at? And then like later on it comes into fruition what was going on when that person was missing. And it was some crazy type stuff, y'all. Like, I don't know if it was like spiritual, you would say, but some kind of witchcraft was going on, and it was trying to take a turn for the worse, and it didn't. Oh, also, this is the first book. It's in the Cemetery Boys series. Aiden Thomas said that they were like planning on writing more about like this story, but I don't know when the next book would be, but I definitely will read that. I definitely will be reading that. I enjoyed myself way too much. Like, I almost give it 5 stars, but like, I don't know. I don't like reading about transphobia and stuff like that. Like, I don't like when people call people their dead names. Like, if someone tells you that they don't want to identify and like be called something, just respect that. Whether you believe things or like whatever, like if that's how someone wants to be addressed, respect them. It doesn't hurt you. It's not extra effort on your part. So I can go about that. I can go on about that all day. It riles me up. It pisses me off real bad. Sorry for the lighting change, but over there it got like way too sunny, and I hope that y'all don't like hate this. This is like my usual background, so I'm making do with what I have because I have family over at home right now, and I'm trying to not have so much background noise in my videos because everyone in my household is very loud. I come from a loud family, so I'm trying to not have that in every single video. But when it gets cold, y'all gonna have to deal with them because I'm gonna have to be in the house or in my car. I don't know. We'll see. We'll get there. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. The next book that I read was That Summer Feeling by Morrissey, and I gave this 4.5 stars. The summary says, when a divorced woman attends a sleepaway camp for adults, she reconnects with a man from her past, only to fall head over heels for his sister instead. Garland Moore used to believe in magic, the power of optimism, and signs from the universe. This book dealt with a lot of like self-discovery, and the main character didn't know that she liked women. She thought that her soulmate was going to be the brother, and as you heard in the summary, it wasn't. I'm like, ooh. Oh, y'all, I'm outside and there's bugs. I'm by that wasp again. That wasp. That wasp. This is the area where I was last. I wasn't attacked, but I was scared for my life. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I don't really remember that much about this book. Like, I don't remember like having like any big reactions to it, except for that like I really enjoyed it. I like the idea of a sleepaway camp, like for adults. Yeah, adult sleepaway camp just sounds like a vibe. The next 5 or 6 books that I'm gonna talk about here in a second are all books that I read in my 24-hour readathon video. If I can figure out the whole card situation, I'm gonna try to put it up there if you want to watch like my full like reactions real time while I was reading them, because I have a bad memory sometimes and I kind of forget what I've read, even though I really enjoyed it. The first book that I read in that video was One Week in Paradise by Anise Starre. So this is following Bailey in Caspian and or Cash. Bailey, she is a social media influencer. A video popped up on social media with her and her ex, and it caused like this whole drama situation, and she didn't post for like 3 months, and no one really has heard from her, and they all think that she's kind of like in the wrong, and she's losing followers by the day, and she's falling into like this really bad funk and depression. And a brand invites her to a brand trip, but it's for couples only. It's a couples retreat, and she's like, dang, like, that would be a great opportunity because I could like post that and promote the brand, and I'll be getting back into like the swing of social media, but I don't have a boyfriend. So this is Caspian, this is her brother's best friend. Her brother was like, oh, just take Cash, and she's like, he doesn't even like me, like why would I take Cash? And Cash ends up going, and they're fake dating. There's a little spice. I think in my video I said like maybe this is like a 2 or 2.5 out of 5. I'm someone that reads, like, I've read a lot of sex before in my life, so that might mean nothing to you. This might be a 4 star out of 5 or 4 peppers to you, so I don't know. But I really enjoyed it. It was cute. Did I tell you I gave it 3.5? I gave it 3.5. This is probably something that I wouldn't reread though. It just was,
it's too short, babe. It's too short.
I would definitely like another like 100 or 150 pages, y'all. And then after that, I read Only for the Week by Natasha Bishop. I gave this 5 stars. Her sister is getting married. It's a destination wedding in Tulum, Mexico, and she's getting married to Janelle's ex. But like, it's not even like a thing. Like, Janelle doesn't even love him anymore. Like, she kind of checks out of the relationship 3 months or 4 months before they broke up, but they were together for like a year, which in my head, like, that's really like out of line for the sister to be like, you know, like, he definitely was introduced to the family after a year. Like, they've been around each other, like, people know them as a couple. So I just don't see how, as her sister, she could go along and date him, get engaged, and get married to him. It's just very strange to me. There should be some kind of rules. There should be some kind of like sister code, because I would never do this to a friend, so I can't even imagine doing that to a sister. It's just weird as hell. But then Rome is the groom's best man, and they kind of have like this little like only for the week situation, like this little arrangement, this entanglement where they're gonna sleep with each other, and then once the wedding starts, like, they're gonna cut it off, and it's harder than they think to cut it off. And there's also drama because her sister is like kind of like threatened by her, and she just acts out in the most nasty and jealous filled ways. And then her mom is kind of narcissistic and gaslighting. She has like this, like, I don't want to say savior complex, but she kind of thinks that Janelle should need her more. She doesn't feel needed by her youngest daughter. But it's like, okay, she feels like her sister gets everything she wants, so she's had to become independent. But it gets more into that. It's a lot of family drama, very great sex. Natasha Bishop writes sex very well. Like, this is one of my favorite. Yeah. And I told y'all, I've read a lot. I've read very corny things. I've read very good things, and it was good. And good doesn't even explain it. Impeccable, marvelous, magnifique, amazing. Next book that I read was The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston, and I gave this 4.5 stars. Okay, I'm trying to stretch myself and make myself better at doing summaries because it's like the hardest thing for me. But it's like, girl, you read the book. You can do it. This is following Clementine. She has kind of inherited her late aunt's apartment, and in this apartment there's like a lot of magical aspects of it, and she finds this man that's literally in the house. She gets home one day and he's in her home. He lives 7 years in the past and she is 7 years in his future. I forgot how it gets triggered. I think one of them has to be like going through like a big shift in their life, and then it brings them back to each other. So I guess like when they need each other the most, they come back to each other, which is kind of sweet in itself. Not only does the person come from 7 years ago, the apartment switches around. So imagine you have like a whole layout of your apartment, you have all your furniture, and then like one day you come walking your door and the whole thing is literally how it used to be 7 years ago. Like things you threw away, things you don't even like anymore, things that are out of style. Girl, everything is still there. And I don't really know how to explain this. Like, it's a little like paranormally to me. It has like that kind of aspect. Like, I don't know, she kind of adds that in like all of her romances that I've read. Like, I've only read The Dead Romantics before that, and like she makes like a romance out of things I didn't think could be like a romance. She really is outside of the box. I love that. I enjoy Ashley Poston's writing a lot. Oh, this is also a trigger warning. A character in the book does die by suicide, so I did have to let y'all know before like y'all become too interested in the book. I hate that I don't have anything else to say, because if I say anything else, I feel like I'm just gonna tell you the whole entire book. But her aunt made these rules: don't wear shoes in the house, and also don't fall in love with anyone that comes through the apartment. And it's only because 7 years a lot of things can change in 7 years, and you just don't know how the reality of what it's gonna be like whenever you're 7 years in their future. You just don't know. Like, things are completely different, especially in here. He changes into like this completely different person, and she's like, I don't even know if I really like this version of him, honestly. And it's happening at the same time that she's with the old version of him, and she's like, does he remember me? All this kind of stuff. Like, they kind of like work in the same like circles kind of in a way. and like their careers blend in a way. It was just beautiful. 4.5 stars. The next book that I read was My Week with Him by Joya Goffney. This is her newest book. It is young adult. I gave it 3.5 stars. And I'm going to read the summary because I don't think I'm going to do it justice. After a painful betrayal by her sister and a heated argument with their mother, Nikki is kicked out and finds herself homeless. She decides to go to California to pursue her singing career. When her best friend Malachi discovers her plan to flee Texas, he begs her to spend the remainder of spring break with him. And I don't really have that much to say about this book. Honestly, I don't want to talk crazy about Joya Goffney. I love Joya Goffney's writing. Just sometimes I just felt like the vibes were just like too adultish for me to read about with teenagers. I just didn't like how it was wrapped up at the end. It was kind of like, it was rushed. It was like she didn't have enough time to write. And it was just like, oh, this is all I've got. And like for this to be about Nikki singing, it just ended up being just about their romance, which is a romance book. But I like, if you're gonna bring in a whole dynamic about her passion and her career, why are you just going to give that half the energy that you gave the romance? Not even half, a quarter of that energy, really. Because the whole time she's talking to like a singing promoter or whatever during this whole week span, and at the end is just like, oh, we'll talk. Like, I think it was like something like that. I don't know how to say it, but like he was just like, oh, like let's talk business or something like that. And it's like, really? I was more irritated with it than I enjoyed it. So sometimes I think about bringing this down to a 3, but I love Joya so much I couldn't do it. I had to give that extra half a point. When you're in my head, you'd understand that. Hey. So the next book that I read was Legenborn-Tracy by deonn, and I gave it 5 stars. I would probably give it 6 stars. Yeah, I'd probably give it 6. So Bree, she's 16, her mom passed away from an accident, and instead of like staying at home, she has her dad in her life too. Instead of like staying with him at the house with like all of her memories of her mom, she goes off to this like residential program for like kind of like gifted students, high school students that are advanced that could take like college courses. It's at UNC Chapel Hill in North Carolina, by the way. This is set in the South. She sees something the first night that she's there, like that pertains to magic, and she's like, this is different. I don't know. Someone tries to kind of like, it's called mesmering, but it's kind of like a hypnosis type of situation. Like with the hypnosis, they have the power to like make you see what they want you to see. And it unravels this memory of hers from when she was at the hospital and they declared her mom not alive. She saw something that she didn't remember. It wasn't in her previous memories. There's more to the case of my mom's death, and I need to know. So if they know something about it, I need to get in with this cult, this society, to figure it out. So she goes through this whole thing, and she gets initiated and all this stuff, and she has to deal with a lot of discrimination, white supremacy, overall racism, people just looking down on her. And I love an underdog story. I will never get over the fact that people will undermine and disrespect and belittle and literally just not underestimate one person, and then literally they end up being the savior. They're saving everything. They fucking shit up. That plot line, it eats every time. Every time that I've ever read that, it has 8 and 8 and 8 and 8. It repeatedly eats. Jaws across the world, across the globe, were dropped. I don't think y'all know what I'm saying. No. I don't think y'all know what I'm saying. You need to read this book. If you haven't read it, you need to read this book. It's 500 pages. Yeah, but you can get through it. You can read it. If I could read it, you can read it. Do yourself. Treat yourself. It's called self-care, isn't it? So to conclude that 24-hour readathon, I read Bloodmarked. It's the second book in the Legendborn series by Tracy deonn. I gave this one 4 stars. Honestly, I only gave it 4 stars because I was mad. I needed more. I really could have been nice and gave it 4.5 or 5, but I'm pissed off because I just feel like leaving me on a cliffhanger is just not, I don't like that. And Tracy deonn, she takes her time. She writes masterpieces, and she needs the time to do so. And the gap between Legendborn and Bloodmarked is 2 years, and I need it. Like I'm feeding for it bad. Like I need it type. Do you understand? But you're not gonna know anything about Bloodmarked because it's the second book, so I just wanted to let you guys know how much I'm obsessed with the series. There was like root work, and just like it talked about like lineage and just like ancestry, African American history. I was just thinking about how so many black people just don't even know their background and their heritage and who they come from, and it was just beautiful to hear Bree see that for her. But also there was other things. She had a whole another situation that I won't tell you because you have to read the first one. But girl, y'all, like I said, jaws were dropped. The next book that I read was Caraval. It is the first book in the Caraval series by Stephanie Garber. I gave it 3 stars. Honestly, I don't want to be rude, but I don't really see why it's in so many people's mouths. So I bought Once Upon a Broken Heart. That's also by Stephanie Garber. And I don't think there's a certain order to read the books, but I believe that one is set in Caraval's like universe. That's just what I've heard. I didn't really do my own research. I'm just like listening to the book girlies. I don't know. Did the lighting change? I don't remember where I was, but I know I was talking about Caraval. This is following Donatella, aka Tella, and Scarlett. They're tired of living with their abusive and really dangerous dad. They're tired of it, and they've only been accustomed to their own like town. There's this person named Legend. He does these games and he uses magic, and it's just like very serious. Like you could get swept up away in the game. Like it can cause people to become mad. I don't know. There's like a lot of like riddles and tricks and things. And this one, Donatella ends up being someone that's missing, and it's like this whole thing. And I really don't even know how to explain this because I wasn't even really confused reading the book. Like the magic system, like how it, and I get it. I looked into this. I guess Stephanie Garber is like a creative writing professor, so she was just having fun. And that's what it felt like. And that, I guess you could consider that tea and shade. I don't know. I'm not trying to be rude, but I mean, I gave it 3 stars. Ooh, that's a hawk. Whoa. He was sweeping down low. I pretend I did not see it. But yeah, it seems like she was just having really like a lot of fun, which I'm not mad at her, but I just don't understand why like Caraval is something that people just really, I don't even think I'm going to finish the series, to be honest. I'm kind of mad that I bought Once Upon a Broken Heart. Maybe I will give it a chance, but for the next like 1 or 2 months, I don't even want to read Caraval. I'm not interested in it at all. I'm not. And I hate that because I hate starting things and then not finishing it, and I don't like reading things I don't like. And I honestly should have just DNF'd it, but I feel like I owe it to myself, my future self, to read Once Upon a Broken Heart, to have the background knowledge of Caraval, but I'm just not impressed. The lore and the legend of Legend, I don't care about. I think he's a stupid man that plays stupid games. But I don't actually know who he actually is because there's like, I guess he gets revealed in the second book, but in the third book I've heard he's already revealed, so it takes away from like the fun of the third book. So I don't get it. I don't get it. And I feel bad if like you're a fan, and I'm like, if you could say without spoilers in the comments why you love it so much, maybe I'll give it another chance sooner rather than later, because I've never not finished. No, I'm lying. Anywhoosie, I don't want to talk about this anymore. We're going on to the next book. Oh my god. I then read Real by Kennedy Ryan. I gave this 5 stars. This is the first book in the Hollywood Renaissance series, and there's another book out. It's like a novella, and it brings her friend in this first book and someone from the Hoop series, but I want to read the Hoop series before I read that one because I'm not going to know the guy. It's not going to be like, it'll be still cute, I'm sure, but I want to know who they are because I love the girl and I feel like she deserves more than a novella. But hey, this is my second book by Kennedy Ryan. I first read Before I Let Go. Ooh, so I watched an interview with Kennedy Ryan, and it was Naima Reed's. I'm gonna link it down in the description box. It was a great interview. I liked it. I usually don't really watch author interviews for real, because sometimes I have a short attention span, and sometimes I just don't want to. I hate to say that. So she was saying that most people find her through the Long Shot series or Before I Let Go, I believe she said. I watched it like maybe a month ago, and she says that a lot of people start with hoops, and she would prefer that I said the Long Shot series, but it's the Hoop series. The Long Shot's the first one. Oh my god, I was at Target the other day, y'all, and I almost bought that book, but I want the whole series, and like there's like pre-orders and stuff, and I want to read it. I want to be able to read it in order, and my library doesn't have it yet, but I know I'm gonna love it. But I want to read, because I like the ones without the people. I like the little white ones with like this like spruce of like color. But she says most people find her through that series, but like that's like something that she feels like people should work their way up to, because Long Shot is very triggering. I believe there's domestic violence, and it's just like a lot. I love Kennedy Ryan's writing so freaking much. She just does so good about writing. Like I want to say that Kennedy Ryan is my favorite author, and I don't take that lightly. It's hard for me to pick favorites, and I've only read 2 books by her, but they've both been 5 stars. So how about that? I love Kennedy Ryan. She can actually do no wrong by me. I've said that about another author. At the time it was my truth, and now it's not. Okay, let's get into what it's about. Director Kanan Holt's 6-month search for the woman to star in his biopic of a forgotten black musical legend comes to an end when he sees Neva Saint take the stage as a Broadway understudy. And this has chronic illness representation. She has lupus, and there's a lot going on in this book. I cried. This was the last book that made me cry. I cried so much, y'all. This hit home for me because I have so many family members that are affected by lupus, and just to read what she was going through and like how she was trying to like still go for her dreams and her passions and her career, And I know I always be like trying to refrain from calling a black woman a strong black woman, but she was just so strong. She's not used to people taking care of her. Like, she's used to getting it out the mud and doing it her own. And like, her and Kanan, I love them together because it's like a boss situation, like it's like a workplace situation, and like he never wanted to abuse his position and power. Directors and actors, there's like a power dynamic, and yeah, it wasn't that. It was genuine. And I love how passionate he was about telling stories, because, you know, telling the story of a black woman, a black jazz singer, yeah, a black jazz singer that didn't get her story told. Like, she died and people don't even know the legacy that she laid down. And there's so many stories like that. It's beautiful that Kanan dedicated a whole biopic to telling this woman's story, because her life does not end in death. It was just beautiful the way that she was honored. I love that. I loved hearing about it. I love this book so much I gave it 5 stars. That's really all I had to say, because I could talk about this all day. Yeah. All right, y'all. The last book of the month of August that I read was, okay, it's a long title, so I have to look. That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon by Kimberly Lemming. This is the first book in the Mead Mishap series. There's 3. I'm currently reading the other one. It's just taking me a while because I've been like pretty busy. They're all like long titles. Like the one I'm reading is like That Time I Got Drunk and Yeeted the Love Potion at a Werewolf, and there's another one that's like The Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Human, which is like, okay girl. But don't let the cover and the corny title discourage you. I started the book, in the first 15% I was like, what the hell am I reading? This is so ridiculous. What is this? And y'all, I was eating it up. What did I give it? I gave it 4 stars. This is following Cinnamon. She's a spice trader who eponymously, shut the hell up. I'm gonna put this on the screen. I've never seen this word in my life. Is that like just so happened to? I'm gonna have to look this up right now. Okay, she gets drunk and saves a demon before getting pulled into an adventuring quest with a hot demon who wants to make her his wife. Okay, y'all, what's eponymously? I learned so many new words reading. Okay, how is it pronounced? Let's see.
Eponymous. Eponymous.
Eponymous. Giving their name to something, named after a particular person. Oh, yeah, because her name is Cinnamon and she's a spice trader. Do we need that word to be used in that sentence? Because you can read it and be like, okay, Cinnamon is a spice. Her name is Cinnamon. She's a spice trader. And her best friend, her name is Bree, and she's a cheese farmer, a cheese maker. Brie cheese. It's spelled B-R-I-E, like Brie cheese. The third Brie, but she's spelled different. The other 2 Bries were Brie with 2 E's. But I read about 3 Bries, and I love cheese. Y'all, these books are kind of like erotic. Yeah, these books, yeah. It's very fun. It's very fun. I like it. I'm laughing out loud. I had so much fun. Like, it was just so fun. Like, this is creative writing. Okay, be nice. All right, y'all, if y'all made it this far into the video, this is the end. Thank you so much for listening to all the books that I read in the month of August. This was a very great reading book. This was a very great reading month for me. I had like 6 5-star reads, and I found new authors that I love, so I'm not mad at it. Oh, y'all, I have so many videos planned. I have videos planned until like mid-November. I don't have like any Christmas stuff planned. I'm not really like a seasonal person, but like when it gets colder, I like to read more fantasy. And I have like a series. I'm gonna tell y'all about it. I have 2 series actually that I want to start. The first one is like rereading book series that I read when I was like younger, but it's gonna be like rereading this as an adult. Like the next one is gonna be like Divergent, because I have my best friends right now. Rereading Divergent as an adult, because I think I got to Insurgent, the middle one. I think I got in the middle of the middle. But I've watched the movies, but it's been years ago. And I don't know, this whole like dystopian fantasy kick has been brought back up because Songs and Ballads, something with Hunger Games, I forget, Snow's story. People always compare Hunger Games and Divergent, so I want to read those 2 and just, I don't know, watch the movies and just see how accurate the adaptations are and just talk to y'all about those. That would be really fun with me. That would be really fun to me to make, and I hope y'all would enjoy something like that. And then also another series I want to do is called Author Deep Dive, which I don't know. I'm on the fence about doing that. It's basically I would try to, I'm inspired, okay. So I'm kind of inspired with rereading by Mayana Reads. Oh, her channel is Mayocore. Her name is Mayana, and she does like, I want to say it was her. She did this video I watched a long time ago. Maybe not a long time ago. Anything more than like a month is kind of a long time to me now because of my memory. But I think she called it YouTube Rewind, where it's like she was reading books that people were reading, like maybe like early booktube, that like were popular booktube books, like We Were Liars, I think she read one time, something like that's an example. or like, for example, Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell, or like Rainbow Rowell or John Green. Oh, I can read The Fault in Our Stars. Yeah, those kind of books. So she inspired me with that one, and the next one is inspired by Kenya at Lily Reads, because I think she's done like author deep dives on her channel that I've watched. And basically, I would pick one author and I would try to read like maybe 2 or 3 books out of their catalog, and I would try, maybe I would do like a series on some people's, because some people just only write series, I feel like. But I want to read like 3 different kind of books so I could get a feel of the author. And I don't know, just see if they'll become like a new favorite author, or like if I just want to read more from them. It'll just be really fun for me. Like I have so many authors that I would like to read from, like V.E. Schwab, R.F. Kuang, Brandon Sanderson. I hear so many things about all these people. I don't know, but I'm really excited. Oh, I'm gonna put on the screen like all of the book series that I was thinking about doing for that first series. So let me know if y'all would be interested in something like that. I'm not even gonna lie, even if y'all don't want to see that, I kind of think I'm gonna do it anyway, because I am someone that, like, nostalgia, it makes me so happy, like, just to take me back to those times when I was reading those books, because a lot of the book series I didn't finish, which I'll get into that whenever I get into those actual videos. Like Shatter Me, I never finished that. I got to the second book, like Ignite Me, I think it's called. I just want to see if they still eat like a decade later, because I read a lot of them like middle school, early high school. It's been a while. I'm excited. All right, this is the end of my August wrap up. Thank y'all so much for watching. I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye.